Well, first of all, JD, thank you so much for joining me. How have you been?
I've been doing pretty good, man. Just kind of training and getting ready more than anything else. It's kind of that limbo, but the kind of limbo you want. Just work out, eat healthy, repeat, and go do it again.
I mean, it's very unique. I mean, bare knuckle fighting is not the type of combat sport that many hear about, but it's definitely growing in popularity. I'm curious, how did you find your way into bare knuckle fighting?
Well, it's kind of funny. When I was a kid, there was this, I should say more like an early teen. My dad is very into martial arts and been training since the 80s. And it was just like a martial art kind of household. And I was the dumb teenager that used to be like, that MMA, that bare knuckle backyard stuff. Have you seen this crazy? Like, I just, and when you're oblivious teenager, you don't know the difference at first. And that there used to be this one in Rio de Janeiro called Rio Heroes. I don't think they're still around or not, but it was like half a wall and half of the fence, and it was pretty much bare knuckle MMA, and it was back then it was nothing to aspire to go for. It was just like a fantasy going, man, what if this was something later down the line, something I could just maybe even just go watch. It would be so cool, and just this unreal thing. And then years down the line, I've been doing professional MMA now for I want to say close to 8 years, and been running a gym for 13 years with a family run business. And during that time, just kind of, again, just like, oh, at bare knuckles, just kind of a fantasy thing or a story to kind of look up on other countries or something. And then it just appeared one day, and just kind of seeing it slowly grow, where I'm like, it's legal over there, it's not legal over here, maybe. I don't know, man. And then the more steam it started picking up, and the more I started watching it, where it started growing tiny bit closer to me each time. It's one of those things where it was like that movie Shawshank Redemption, where I'm just going to keep writing letters and keep messaging and keep texting until I finally get a response like, all right, we get you, please stop writing messages, we'll get you a fight, or we'll, hey, I've got all your stuff, thanks but no thanks. But at least get some type of acknowledgement and be like, all right, I gotta at least shoot my shot. And if I get it, heck yeah, I dipped my toes in the water and said I actually did that, like when I was a kid. If I don't, at least I said I tried, kind of thing. So, and then, lo and behold, I got my first shot, and it was just unreal. More than anything else, it was the most, so many emotions at once, that it was just like zero emotions and just paralyzing. Like, I'm actually doing this. This is not even a dream. This is just crazy. But I don't know. I'm like, even after my first fight, getting beat up a bunch, I'm instantly in love with it, man. I can't see myself doing much more than bare knuckle for a while.
So I'm curious, did you kind of seek out BYB, or did they seek you out?
Well, at first it was, I was kind of looking for an opportunity, and before COVID and the shutdown and everything, I was getting a sliver of a chance when it was a different matchmaker at the time. And I had a couple names to vouch for me, and I sent in all my stuff. And it was kind of like all right, I'm just going to wait and relax and kind of see where that shows up. And then COVID happened, and there was this big, just, well, a year of nothing, which I found out, which worst thing in a fight is not losing. It's not
Mhm.
fighting at all. It's way worse. I found out. And I don't care. I need to figure out, and whether it was the shutdown or not, it wanted me to like push to actually go and seek it out more. It's like, man, it's as good as time as any. As soon as I saw bare knuckle was kind of opening up and they were doing shows, I was like, all right, I'll just let them know I'm still working out. I have a gym to train myself. So when everything else was closed, I had the doors locked and I was training myself, kind of prison style, if anything else. But just keeping on the routine more than anything else.
As far as I'm kind of interested how you get involved in combat sports from the beginning. You talked about your father having a background in that. What was his particular background?
But my dad took WTF, which is kind of funny. It's World Taekwondo Federation in the early '80s, and he received his black belt around then. And then years down the line, when he had kids, he was figured, kind of keep up the same kind of thing, and just we'll start him out in traditional Taekwondo and martial arts, and then build from there. So I get hit in the head a lot. I'm okay with numbers. I believe I was 11 years old when I started Taekwondo with Master Sean. He was my main instructor, and then my dad got my sister in it. And then after a while, once he started seeing us kind of going through the ranks again in belts, he was like, I'll just jump right back in and do it again, kind of thing. So turned into like a family activity and training and everything like that. In middle school, I wrestled all through middle school. High school, my uncle and my dad were the assistant coach and the head coach. And I always like to bring that up a lot because even though I grew up in a martial art household and I was through MMA or jujitsu or even wrestling through high school, I was the absolute worst in wrestling. If you've ever seen Full Metal Jacket, I was Private Piles. I was giving everybody push-ups, and everybody heard. They're like, "Oh, this is the coach's kid. He's going to be slamming kids and suplexing them." And nope, it was very opposite. I was giving people push-ups and just figuring out that you don't have to be really good at it to really like it, and it just kind of, as long as you stick with it, it just eventually see, the outcome kind of thing build for you.
When you're kind of making that transition and you kind of start picking up on it, and obviously it sounds like a lot of your love kind of pushed you to get to where you are today. How do you make that jump into MMA from those experiences?
Well, actually, my dad wanted to do a fight because he wanted to coach a lot of MMA training and stuff. And since we've been through Master Sean and his gym for all throughout my teenage years, and about 16, 17, my dad was even teaching classes for Master Sean, and Master Sean gave him an opportunity to be like, "Hey, I'm opening up a gym down in this location. I really want to know if you want to, run it with you and your family and just kind of make it a full-time thing." And my dad, talked to us when we were young, and he's like, "What should I do? I don't want to do it unless it's, full force family thing." And then that was where I was starting to think I can actually, even if I'm not good, you can make a career of it, being able to teach and instruct and everything else kind of aspect into it. But right before that, even, sorry, I'm kind of bouncing around a lot.
Mhm.
My dad wanted to do a MMA fight just to, whatever he coaches, he wants to be able to be the guinea pig first to show everybody, look, I did it first. So this is what I went through. This is how I need to, train and prepare for fights and stuff like that. Um, he fought amateur pride rules, which was way back when. So it was like a 1 5-minute round and 1 3-minute round. It was kind of fun to watch. They had the old style pride laced up gloves, and it was
Mhm.
a fat little kid in the front row watching, like, "Go, dad!" Well, he fought. I believe he was 43 when he fought, and he fought a guy that was 25, and it ended up being fight of the night, and they called it Battle of the Generations. And he ended up losing second round via triangle choke, and then even him losing, just seeing all these people go, crazy, and just it kind of lit a fire under me, going, man, he just did what he loved. He didn't even have to win. He just put on the show that he wanted to do, and all these people got, were satisfied with that. They were happy. Everybody's kind of bummed that he lost, but in all, he was safe and he was able to, keep fighting when he wanted to the next one. So watching that, it was like I can totally do that. I could put all my full time, since I'm an athlete and not a mathlete. I knew numbers weren't going to be helping me out very much. Growing up. All right, I better if I'm going to be dumb, I'm going to be tough. Then we'll figure out a way to, every workout routine, every training regimen. I went to seminars. We've trained 6 7 days a week. At one point when we first started off, we ended up living at the gym at one point, just to transition from going down the road and figuring out where we're going to stay, just so it'd be the cheapest place to go from point A to point B to get to our gym. And it really was 13 years of just figuring out that routine and making it to perfection, to where when I did start fighting, I think my first fight was at 18 years old. I fought 155, and I won first round via triangle choke. And then it kind of went from that career, just altering little things here and there. But it's the best part about martial arts. It's just trial and error kind of thing. You can have your technique, but then once you go out and fight, the videotape's not going to lie. You're like, oh, you got punched in the eye really hard. You should probably keep your left up. Or, oh, you got taken down. You should probably work on your sprawling. Like, it's something where it's, there's no perfect formula. It's how you can express yourself in an art form. So it's, not mixed martial science. I used to joke with people. It's mixed martial art. They're beat up in wrestling all the time, shouldn't be beating up all the state wrestlers, kind of thing. That's the art form of it, where I'm like, hey, I got to triangle choke some of those guys. It felt so great at that point. So,
When you're doing MMA, and obviously you kind of talked about the impact of the pandemic, I think that your last professional MMA bout was 2019.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
that was right beforehand too. It was like, ah,
Yeah. So had the pandemic not occurred, do you think that you still would have done MMA? Do you think you would have even found your way to bare knuckle fighting right away, or would you still have stayed on that route?
yeah, actually, right before I got that call for that particular fight, I was kind of looking and trying to. I think that was the first time I messaged BYB, and I didn't hear a response back quite yet. And this promoter in kind of knew I was getting ready for a bare knuckle matchup or was looking for something, and he's like, "Hey, man, if nothing shows up, I want you to fight main event in my card and be really cool. And, I really appreciate all the support you bring us and stuff like that." And I was like, all right, if nothing shows up, maybe. And then a couple weeks later, it was just one of those things like, man, I need the funds. I need to be able to at least keep fighting to keep active kind of thing. And it turned out to be my only fight. I went 9-second knockout and it was like, oh, yeah, shoot. And it was just, that's where I found out too. I've some of my fights, even though it was 9 seconds, it was just the most like I've trained all this time. Man, it didn't feel as good as I thought it was gonna feel. Like I was for a little bit more like, dude, get up and punch me back real quick, and then fall over. Like I couldn't like just didn't register it. It's a weird, paralyzing feeling for sure. But
Mhm.
yeah, when that happened anyway, that's my as soon as that went off, I was like, oh, okay, I can at least show this to the bare knuckle guys and let them know, hey, I'm just got this knockout, hopefully using it as a resume video kind of thing. And actually, when I showed it to Data 5000, they were a little bit more impressed. Where I'm like, okay, I'm glad I at least did that last one, and then jumped into that. But right after that fight, it turned into the pandemic shutdown. And before pandemic shutdown, I had like every 2 weeks I was coaching and cornering for MMA fights, boxing fights, sometimes Muay Thai, but it's mostly kickboxing based. Like there was always stuff going on, and it was just constantly active. If I wasn't fighting, I was cornering and coaching and just being being around the martial art in general. And then he just stopped, and it was the weirdest. Like figure out what to do. And it's like I don't know what to do if I'm not like punching or showing people how to punch or like teaching people martial arts. It was the weirdest, like, dude, I need to do something. So that was and then that was for bare knuckle. I was like, all right, I fight 55 normally. I don't ever go up in weight. And anybody misses weight, I usually make a big stink about it. I even told them like, I'll go up to 170, 175 and I'll fight their guy. I don't care. It'll be, wasn't the smartest part on my end, but that was the I'll fight that bear over there. I don't care. Bring it on. I just need to get out there. And ended up my opponent the first time missed weight by a considerable amount to where it was like, oh man, I in before COVID, I had just been like, nope, not gonna do it. Not gonna, I'm just gonna think safe and whatever else. Post COVID, I was like, he's still gonna fight though, right? You guys are gonna let me fight, right? I can't all this way. You're not gonna not wrap my hands. Come on, let's do something, man. We gotta purge out all these negative 2020s, man, for sure. So and then
So I was curious, you're talking about the weight. You're used to fighting 155, and here you are now fighting super middleweight, either high 160s or even low 170s. Um, have you noticed like, hey, maybe this added weight isn't such a bad thing for me? Maybe I actually, this power is actually a boost for me at this weight.
yes and no. When I went at 175, I
Mhm.
was really looking for the hockey fighting and getting in a nice tight clinch and throwing a lot of dirty shots and trying to shift and throw that polygon of a human around with these muscles. I was like, oh, you're way bigger than 155. I shouldn't have, like in my head, I'm like 55, 55. I'm just gonna push. And then so it was figuring out not only my first bare knuckle bout, but it was also my first boxing match ever. So it was figuring that pace from a 5 minute round to all of a sudden 3 minute. I'm not allowed to kick. I'm not allowed to do takedowns. I just get this clinch and punch. And it turned into these wait, 60 punches. Okay, wait again, wait again, wait again. So it's just finding that happy medium ground where I wasn't trying to suck wind or dry heave in between getting punched in the eye socket kind of thing. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was just to find that the ground on that was is if anything else. But
As far as the difference between MMA, I always ask BKFC fighters, BYB fighters, anybody that's fighting bare knuckle in some bare knuckle promotion. Like everyone came from somewhere else, whether it was a boxing background or MMA background. in this particular case, what's the biggest difference to you, and what are some of the things that have clicked for you, and maybe some of the things that have been harder to adapt to going from an MMA background to now bare knuckle?
I thought it would be maybe the transition from barehanded to like 4 ounces. I'm like, all right, it's gonna feel sharper, or it's gonna, surprisingly, in the heat of the moment, you don't feel anything. You just you're like, oh, okay, this still feels like getting hit in the face. All right, I don't have to worry no more. And then the biggest, because all of my competitions, whether it's jujitsu or taekwondo or MMA, more transition was just getting used to shoes, because it's like, dude, not only am I allowed to wear shoes on the mat, I'm going to wear it to my fight. This is so jarring and weird. So it was finding the right shoes and everything. Like, I didn't think that'd be an issue or anything. And it was just like, yeah, because everything's off the ball of my foot. So just readapting to figuring out the right shoes to get off that push pace, or the switching my feet, or transitioning anything where it was just where it synced perfectly with the ball of my foot, and how it's nothing where I'm like stepping over clown shoes or anything like that. Which first fight, I did have a little bit of a longer shoe. That's why it was less in and out jumping, and it was just more walk forward, and then, oh, he's going to hit me, brace for impact, and then just swing away kind of thing. So, but yeah, and I just kept thinking of all the, I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. So I'm like, dude, 3-minute rounds as opposed to 5-minute rounds, and the guy's 3 times my size. He can't full mount me and punch away. So I'm okay. I'll be set at that point. And I always used to joke with my mom and my parents and everybody else. I'm like, if I get knocked out, I'm not gonna remember. I'm just gonna wake up. I'll be fine, Mom. You don't have to worry. She's surprisingly, that didn't help her or make her feel any better. I was like, I'll be good. It's like, if anything else, but yeah, if everything else, it just kind of meshes with my style in general. Just because my whole demeanor is not about winning; it's about the fight itself. And as long as I can produce good quality fights, I usually just say, if one person's bleeding, it's a pretty good fight. If both guys are bleeding, it's like fight of the night material. But I can't say that with bare knuckle, because both of the guys are usually bleeding at every single fight. So that it was just like, oh, kind of fits right in with me. This will be good. We'll just keep hitting until one of our lights go out then. And it's the nice part. If my lights go out, I'm not going to remember. Joke's on him. I'll just wake up. So,
And do you think part of your success now in BYB is, a lot of guys talk about, hey, you can have an athlete that likes to throw punches, that's conditioned, but a lot of it is what's going on up here. Is it just kind of your mentality that is, really making you so successful so far?
I believe it's a big part of it. There's the late great Robert Follis. He was one of the best instructors and teachers. He was like 90% mental game training, and he always talked about the difference between nervousness and excitement was what your face was doing. So
Mhm.
it was always just smiling no matter what. And he's like, if you've ever ridden a roller coaster, it's the same exact feelings. You're like, oh, we could die right now. This is insane. I got the same butterflies. I got the same, but I'm doing that to myself. I'm going on that roller coaster, giving myself those, emotions and everything else. And he always used to say, riding the merry-go-round sucks. Nobody ever freaked out or died on a merry-go-round. So that's a given. You push yourself to do the harder things, and it's a positive. You just have to push yourself to make it look at the positive. And it's 20 less adrenaline dumps in a day, even though you're going to get them anyway. And it's more of just finding that routine where you're just and not shadow boxing the air for 30 minutes going, oh man, 2 weeks left, oh my gosh, I gotta run and everything else. But yeah, it's just the mindset. It's like the price is right. I'm just happy to be here, Bob. That's all I want to do. Put a good show and just keep swinging and punching. So
The other fascinating part of your story is your better half. Your wife is a fighter too, and is also fighting on this card. I mean, is it just how do you, first of all, how did you meet your wife, and was it through combat sports?
yeah, actually, we it was I was cornering one of my buddies at the time, and he was fighting for a title fight. And usually our thing is, because we were fighting since teenagers, so it wasn't like, hey, we won this fight, let's go to the bar. Like, we were still like, it's like super bad at that point. We were just little kids going, well, let's go to Applebee's, it's still open. So we go to kind of Applebee's with all the guys that are minors still, and kind of hang out and whatnot. And my wife, uh, at the time used to work at Applebee's, and we were the last people in there kind of thing. And she was always interested in combat sports or boxing, and did it when she was a teenager, younger back in the day. But just when she moved to Lakewood area where we were at, she just didn't know anybody or didn't have contact to a gym or didn't know where to look kind of thing. And one dumb day, we get there and my guy has his big title belt on and he's all excited and peppy. She saw it. She was all pumped and like, where do you guys train at? And we let her know. And she started coming to train at our gym for, I want to say few years, 2 or 3 years, I'd say, before, before we even ended up, talking to each other or anything like that, which is kind of funny. She just was a teammate at the time and was just, we wanted to get her training, and she got one MMA fight first. That was her first thing before she started anything else. And then we started putting her to kickboxing, boxing. She was just down for anything, which was really fun to watch. And we ended up giving her the fight named The Goon, because she fought like a hockey player. Her first fight, she tapped hands and then she went and grabbed the girl's head and just wanted to sit there and punch. Not even her like, no, just keep doing what you're doing. You're winning, I guess. All right, keep going. You're going fine. And just one day we ended up just kind of talking a little extra, and ended up starting to go out, and it just ended up being like history after that, because it was just she wasn't so much as just in for it for me or anything else, but she had a sincere love for martial arts and a passion for it, wanting to constantly grow in competition or anything else. And it worked hand in hand. So when we started going out or anything, or we'd be like, all right, I have a fight competition this month. You don't have to do any competition. We'll just kind of, tag team it back and forth out. So then we didn't have to worry about coaching and cornering each other or anything like that at the time, or we're both fighting at the same time. And then, we won't be able to corner each other or anything like that. So, but yeah, this will be her debut in, not only in bare-knuckle, but her professional debut too. And she's same thing like the COVID. She was just really looking forward to fight. And just due to having a kid, we have a 5-year-old son now, but she was the pregnancy for 9 months and then recuperating from that. And then she ended up getting an injury. And then we got like maybe 1 or 2 fights back in right before, like, all right, we're getting back to the steam of throwing again. And then COVID happened, and we're like, and it was that same kind of, it sucked for sure. But it was the same thing with her, where she really realized, like, man, I really, really love this sport. And it ends up being, like my master instructor used to say, Taekwondo is just a way of life. It kind of is in if just general martial arts. It's not a seasonal thing. It's just however long you keep doing it and wanting to push yourself and wanting to, just sharpen yourself each and every day. So, and that's kind of what she saw too, where we were just constantly sharpening each other each day and sparring. And I mean, who wouldn't want to get to spar their wife every once in a while? It's kind of, those dishes done? All right, put your gloves on. All right.
Yeah, take out that anger.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I used to let her hit me a bunch of the time for when she first started. Now I don't let her hit me. I forget tables and how to read. She hits really hard now.
So I have to assume that the two of you being on the same card is making this one extra special. I mean, that's on a different level, right?
Yeah, on my pro debut, she did a kickboxing bout on the same card, and it was the first time where it was like, oh, we're gonna be on the same card. This is nerve wracking. I don't know, and and my very first pro fight I lost, and it was just this weird mixture of emotions where I realized it was at that point where I was like, shoot, even though I lost, it doesn't take away the fact that I got to share the same card with my wife, or I got to share this experience with all these different people. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Tony Lopez was also on that card too, but I didn't, at that point, I didn't even care. I was like, I lost. I was just so into my own head to where it was that realization where I was like, oh, who cares? I got to be able to do this. To now cutting forward. Now when she fights, I'm gonna be so pumped, regardless of outcome or however. I'll be able to watch her and not have that adrenaline dump. Oh crap, I'm going next, or oh crap, I hope she doesn't get hurt. It's the knowing her mental attitude, regardless, is always going to be strong. So it's even if she wins, she's just going to be like, all right. My injuries are like maybe 3-4 weeks, and then after that, I'll start training and getting ready again. It's like, all right, cool. We'll give you 3-4 weeks out, and we'll jump in again. She's just biting at the bit, kind of thing.
When Skylar's kind of like, you guys aren't dating and, she's kind of like, your ward and like a student and you're trying to help her out. And then you guys become, husband and wife. How does that change the dynamic? Does it change the way that you view her when she's in a fight? Is it like, uh-oh, now I'm emotionally invested? Like, does it put a little bit more of a nervousness or not?
It would normally, because it'd be even in like teammates, you get nervous when your teammates fight because you can't control what they do as much. You can just give them encouragement and stuff. But knowing that person's mental health and demeanor and how they look and perceive fights, that's the best thing that you can do. And I know how she looks at fights. I don't have to worry what the outcome of the fight is because I know she knows enough to keep herself safe to where she's only gonna receive a horrible butt whooping, just like me might receive a horrible butt whooping. And I know she's gonna get up and be like, all right, I lost. Next one is going to look way better. Well, just wait until my eyes are back to normal. I'm going to ruin the next guy. Like it's the demeanor of the person. It helps a lot more because it's almost like that game you play where you need your cornermen to keep you relaxed and cool, and then your cornermen are also nervous because they're also doing that. So they're trying to play that. I'm not. No, it's cool, man. You're fine. I'm not shadow boxing in the corner when nobody's looking. I'm not like So it's this. But with her, I don't have. I already know her demeanor is already good. So I'm like, cool. You're right. Right. All right. Cool. We're right after the fight. We're gonna go get drinks at this bar now. All right. Cool. All right. Don't get beat up. I don't want to go to the hospital. I want to go to. It's like, all right. Cool. Sounds good. It's just it's way more because we do it every single day now, and it's it's. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is it. This is everything I do is martial art based, so it's not as big a pressure because I could lose. It's just like anybody has the chances of losing. I already know I'm going to get up and go fight another one after this. Unless
Hmm.
he knocks my head into the crowd and somebody catches it, I'm going to get up and go fight again. That's the whole basis of it. So that's especially with the bare knuckle aspect. It's just a little bit of a new challenge with new angles, and it's just livening up the same type of combat mentality of one on one. And the pain and punishment game. I can take more pain and inflict more punishment than that guy can. So
Well, JD, here's hoping that after the night on March 12th for BYB 9 that you and Skylar are at the bar instead of at the hospital. I think you'll be at the bar. So here's wishing both of you the best. And I mean, it's a fantastic story and more power to you guys. Best of luck.
thank you, man. Much appreciated. It's always a pleasure to come on and be able to share some stories with you guys.